Radio Zero with Rick and Rose. Friday, July 10th, 5:06 p.m. Central Dorky time.
We're live streaming on Facebook on the Radio Zero page and on the Poster Children page, on Twitch at PCJCUSA, and on the Poster Children YouTube channel. You can subscribe to the podcast through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pocket Casts, or go to radiozero.us. You can patronize us at patreon.com/Radio Zero. Thanks to all our Patreon donors.
Okay, and Tim Bauer says, greetings, what's up? We have a special Radio Zero for you today because Rick hasn't spoken in 3 weeks.
That's right.
No. All right, well, welcome. So you know what we're going to be talking about, the giant white elephant in the room, which is...
Donald Trump?
No. Which is that why didn't we do Radio Zero last week, Rick?
Well, it was 2 weeks ago, right? We missed a whole cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a month now.
So
our last episode was on the 12th of June.
Yeah. So Rick comes up to me on a Monday afternoon, Monday night. He goes, I have something to tell you. Hi, Chris. And
that's what I said. Hi, Chris.
No, I'm saying hi, Chris, because Tim Bowers says to me to say hi, Chris. And I know I get distracted. Sorry. He goes, I have something to tell you. And I'm like, what? What, are you sick? What, and he like looks bashful and he's like, I applied for a retreat, a silent retreat, and I just found out that I got in. And I'm like, first of all, I didn't know you were like that, that much of a Buddhist, but, I was like, wow. And I was so happy. I was like, that's fantastic.
To be clear, it isn't Buddhist, it's non-sectarian.
And then I was like, wow, that's fantastic, and when does it start? And he's like, in 2 days. It starts on Wednesday.
I was on the wait list.
Yeah.
And I told it was how late can we call you in off the wait list or on the wait, if a slot opens up, and I said 2 days. But it was because it's summer, It's summer.
You're not doing much except like redoing your entire basement, and then, well, anyway, but so, and then I was like, when does it start? And he's like, in 2 days. And I was like, oh, okay. All right. That's great. But unfortunately that's the day that we have tickets to go to the Obama. Like, this is like the most first worldish problem. We have tickets to go see the Obama Foundation thing, like right at 3 or 1 or something. What was it
1 p.m.?
1 p.m. And so we were going to drive up there, and when do you have to be at the retreat? I have to be there at 5. And then also I'm like, how long is it? And he's like, it's 10 days. And I'm like, wow, okay. But I was just so like, I have nothing but, excitement for you and happiness for you. But then just like spending the next like 4 hours trying to figure out the logistics of, driving 120 miles to the Obama Center to get there at 1, going through the Obama Center like on the first week that it's open to people with our special tickets that you reserved. And then just driving the 90 miles to Rockford. How hard could that be? And driving 90 miles to Rockford on a Wednesday evening in a rainstorm takes 6 hours.
Well, it was more like 4, but it was, driving from the south side of Chicago.
Through
to Rockford.
Yeah.
That was the problem, because we left at like 2:30 or 3, right? And the idea was we'll get there by 5.
Yeah.
And my window was 3 to 5.
You had to arrive from between 3, and you've never been up there, and so like you've never been there. Like
you mean to the place?
Yeah.
I mean, I've been to Rockford.
It wasn't in it's not in
outside
Rockford. It's outside of Rockford.
Pecatonica. I can't remember.
You wouldn't know how to say it because probably nobody said it because it was a silent retreat. Pecatonica or something. Anyway. So I don't even know what to, like, do we talk about the Obama Center? It was like we can talk about that some other time. It was like It was beautiful.
Yeah, we can talk about it.
Yeah, but I don't want to. Like we could talk about it later.
Okay, I thought you were asking,
Yeah.
but you
So-
didn't want to.
Yeah. So
Okay.
why don't you start talking now?
Well,
Tell
Yeah.
us about the retreat. Tell us about like why did you sign up for it? How
something I was interested in, silent retreat.
is that
sound-
the actual title of it? Silent Retreat?
Well, I guess not an official title. Jeez,
Mhm.
I don't know.
Silent Vipassana Retreat?
Vipassana 10-day silent retreat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And and so I found out there was a center outside of Rockford that had these silent retreats, and then doing a little more research, it was like, oh, there are these meditation centers all across the U.S. and internationally, and it's this sort of organization that had been created for or I'm hearing.
Sorry.
Oh, I thought it was our kid talking.
Nope.
Yeah. Sorry.
So a
all
little-
that meditating is
Yeah.
completely
a little more organized than.
destroyed my mind.
Okay.
So what was I saying?
So what type of meditation have you done before?
All types, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the mindfulness meditation that they teach at the university. The kind of, what is it? I can't remember what it's called. It's like a branding. It actually has a branding.
Oh
right?
yeah, Kuru or
It's a
something.
super cleaned up, or kind of non-sectarian also meditation stuff. But it's kind of like a buffet of different methods. So Vipassana, I think, was one of them, and what else? Visualizations, breathing. What are some of the other ones? Rose, what are some of the other meditations?
Oh, I guess there's like metta. I don't remember if they.
Yeah,
Taught
I
that
feel
in
like
the-
I learned that one.
Yeah. Okay. So and then you went to a silent retreat. Or something that was billed as a silent retreat, and it wasn't silent. People were
Well,
talking.
it was. I mean, so it was a 1-day thing, and yeah, it was more instructional again. Although this 10-day one was instructional too. I mean, there was talking, but yeah, the 1 day it didn't. I think it might have even been a half day. Wasn't super silent. It was like at most an hour of being quiet and everything. I forgot to close the doors.
Okay.
And
So you had to fill out a questionnaire to get
Yeah, you
let
have to
into
apply.
this, right? You have to
so
apply.
this is the thing: is
Yeah.
the center, it's and the whatever the organization, the methodology, you can't pay until you've gone through the 10-day silent retreat meditation training. You can't pay. There's no charge, and so. Yeah, there's an application process. You apply. They, ask you questions about your current practice. One of the weird things that I remembered yesterday when talking about it was that, I went through the whole application process, and then they had questions back for me, and one of the questions was, do you, in your current meditation practice, do you try to influence energies externally in other people? Do you use meditation for that? like influencing the world, like kind of like brainwave manipulation or whatever. And it was like, no, I'm not doing that. All my meditation's internal. I'm not doing anything crazy like that. But it seemed like they were checking to make sure that they weren't getting people who were trying to, manipulate the world. And I think there's some of that. And it's more. I guess it's not malicious. No, what would it be? In TM, right? The Maharishi stuff. Like David Lynch did, and I think there's a lot of projecting, like the kind of thing, meditate to change the world, or meditate for world peace.
Yeah, I mean,
And
like
so
that-
I think there's a lot of that. So they're kind of like filtering for, are you one of those people? Yeah, what were you gonna say?
Danny Ingram is saying weaponized meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, like, and James Sweeney says cool retreats are awesome. So what I was going to say is that for me, I think I even wrote this in the book, that I kind of feel like meta, like I've when you do meta meditation, which is the meditation where you could do it this. I should ask you what meta meditation is, because they taught you that on the last day, right? I looked
Yeah.
at your schedule. So what is it?
Honestly, for this sort of approach, it's really just thinking about, all beings, may they find peace and happiness, kind of thing. It's just thinking about that.
Okay.
That's really all it is.
Okay. All right. Well, like
Super simple,
one-
like a little, almost like a prayer, but not prayer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, well, we'll get more into that. For me, meditation. One of the times that I learned it was, you have somebody that you love, that's in your life, that's very important to you, and you wish upon them that, may that person, may Rick be happy, whatever, and healthy, and
so even in the description, of the kind of course or the approach, it's like there's no visualization, no idols, no anything, no representative. You're not imagining other people or imagining idols or praying.
So you're
to
not focusing
a person.
on a person.
You're not chanting a name.
Oh, that's great.
You're not chanting anything.
Yeah.
And so it kind of emphasized it was non-sectarian and universal. And so doing research about it, it was like, ooh, it's like, oh, free, if you pass the audition or the application, right? There's no, and it's things like, oh, are you able to, are you going to be capable of, dropping out of society for 10 days? Can you handle that? Are you able to sit for a long
certainly
period
you're
of
able
time?
to sit with your phone, right?
No. So it's a literal science. I mean, lots of questions about, can you do this? And it's almost kind of like a contract. It's like, will you, do you agree to, not engage in any, sexual activity, not engage with any media, and that includes so it's not just no phones. It's like no books, no writing. What else?
Yeah, you weren't allowed to take notes, which is
weren't allowed to bring.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to. I mean, it's not like you got checked at the door, or your bags. They went through your bags and checked to see if you had a pad of paper. And so that was my thought, is like, oh, I was going to sneak in a pad of paper, and I really should have, but I didn't. I was killing myself about halfway through, where it's just like, why didn't I was going to put my little tiny notebook that I keep in my pocket with the little tiny pen.
Well, I'm glad you didn't. You're supposed to not have done that. Okay. Hi, Mom. Wait, can I finish the meditation?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Go
so
ahead.
you focus on somebody that you like, and then you focus on some completely neutral person that you have like no feelings towards at all, and then you focus on somebody you hate. And I remember learning this around 2001, like around 9/11. We were doing this meditation, and people, were sitting in the Sangha having trouble. Well, I hate the people who bombed or who ran the plane into the Twin Towers. I hate them. Well, no, you have to try this meditation and do it. You have to hope that they're happy and healthy and free of worry or whatever. Like, and I remember like grown adults like sitting with me going, well, we can't do this,
Yeah.
So, but as you're saying that you don't actually focus on a person. The meditation was just a sort of this practice of putting this type of energy out. For me,
yeah, and it wasn't even. Yeah, that's what's interesting, is it wasn't even described. I don't feel like, and this is getting way ahead, because this was like silent. The noble silence is over, and this day is kind of the teachers. There's videos of the teacher, the guy who kind of initiated this whole system or whatever. Or saying, oh yeah, day 10, it's the noble silence is over, and it's kind of like the work is done. You're not going to be working that hard anymore, and it's like meta. But nothing. I don't feel like there was any description of like sending energy out. It was more just thinking, thinking about it, and even on top of it, it was like him, it was kind of like a prayer or a chant, singing those words. And I guess what language would it be? What was Sanskrit? Would it
Pali or
yeah,
Sanskrit,
whatever Buddha,
yeah.
whatever language Buddha, singing that, and then singing it in English, and it's just like, may everybody be happy or something. And so it wasn't even, I don't remember anything being said like, oh, you're doing this to send out energy.
Okay. All right. Well, so but and
So
I
anyways,
will.
yeah, I did. I mean, I was doing research. Well, no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No.
I
I just wanted
interrupted
to.
you.
I wanted to
Yeah.
just finish.
Finish. Yeah.
My problem would be was that I felt like if you conditioned, I wrote this in the book, like if you condition your heart to be like to be kind of having this wish for everybody, for all mankind, then your actions are gonna be in such a way, you're gonna act in such a way that you're not hurting other people. So I do kind of believe, so like I'm glad to hear the answer, because I want to apply for this too, but I'm glad to hear that the correct answer is that no, I don't believe that I can affect anything outside of me through
And I don't know if that's
Yeah.
actual the thing is it was just that was one of the questions that came back
Yeah.
after my application, is like they check with we have some follow-up questions, and I'm sure they do this with everybody, right?
Yeah.
Where it was just specifically they wanted, I think they wanted to make sure that they weren't getting people in who were trying doing even like witchcraft stuff or witchy stuff. You know what I mean?
like so the
spells and things like that.
Yeah, you had so like I looked. You had the list of things that you could bring and things that you couldn't bring. I think you sent that to us, or you
I
showed
think I
it
just
to us.
sent the website. But
Well, it came like the first day and stuff, and I was looking at it, and I saw like no crystals, no dancing.
no beads,
Yeah.
things like that, rosaries, any kind of religious sort of paraphernalia or props or anything like that. And then no singing, no music. That was the other thing. It was like it's a true kind of silent retreat where you're devoting all of your energy kind of to your to the meditation and your brain, basically your thoughts. So I mean there were breaks, but it was like it's not like I could take a break and read a book. And so, because it's not a vacation, it's work, right? And that was the other thing that the teacher was is always like, this is work. You got to do the work. This is hard work, and you need to be, the fifth day is done, and you have been working very hard, and you will be working even harder the next few days. It's all
Wow.
about work and focusing on that, not distracting yourself, right? But anyways, so as I was doing the research, and it was like, so there's the kind of communist, socialist, collectivist kind of thing where it's like, oh, you don't pay for this. Like once you're done with the course, you can make a donation, right? Then they open it up for donations, but you absolutely, so it was like, okay. I mean, that to me, I thought that was cool. In that it was like, okay, and then is it a cult thing? And it's like, I did some more research, and people who had gone to these things, and it's like, no, it's not. Well, some people feel like it's a little. I mean, it has some spiritual stuff in it, but it's not super culty. Although I was remembering, like whatever, like the Quincy episodes or whatever those 70s show episodes about cults, right? There was always a cult episode,
Yeah.
and like the things that cults do is like, oh, they separate you from the world, right? They feed you vegetarian food,
Yeah.
to reduce your protein intake so you're
Yeah.
more malleable and things like that. And then you're forced to sit for hours, and and it's like and I realized, and those, it's like, it's kind of like anti-vegetarian propaganda. But anyways, also vegetarian, no killing. So that was
a first.
off. Yeah. Can't do any killing. So can't kill other people at the retreat. And honestly, people can be very triggering, and so it's good they have that rule
But you
in
can't
place.
kill ants,
But
right?
also
like there's
animals.
an ant or a mosquito.
I don't know, ants. Actually, there was a note about ticks. It's like, oh, if you find a tick, you can take it and throw it outside, right? It didn't say, here's how to kill a tick.
That's really cool.
But there was no like overt message that don't kill any insects. I did see a couple of people, and like I carried bugs outside, and I saw a couple of people like catching, flies and stuff with Dixie cups and bringing them outside. So I mean, there was some of that, but those could have been people who were Jains, right? Right, Jainists.
Yeah.
Is that what you say? Don't kill insects also. So it wasn't anything that but the no killing, right? So you're eating vegetarian food. Anyways, lots of research in it, and it was like, okay, seems cool. Seems like I'm not going to be, recruited into a cult. And so, and it's and constant, descriptions that it's non-sectarian. It's universal stuff. It's not. There's not going to be any connection to any religion. In fact, it's compatible. It's like it's not a replacement for. You can be from any religious background or no religious background. The A word came up a couple of times. Atheism.
Oh.
And it's like, it's and so it's so I felt somewhat comfortable, at least. Going, and then
The alternative was to stay here
in the summer.
I'd leave.
Yeah. No. It was like it was like, and there's and that's the thing, is the silent retreat. And so thinking about there's the romanticism of that too, right? And it's there's just the general thing. And even I was thinking about it, even like with bands, it's like we did the remote recording thing, like where we went
oh my God
to upstate New York,
the
right?
Hamptons,
and recorded
in a house
near
in the
Woodstock.
Hamptons.
No, but before that, up in the studio near Woodstock, right?
Yeah.
And then renting the house on the Hamptons and recording overdubs in the house, right? That idea of escaping from everything, right? That it's a very romantic idea, right? And then also Leonard Cohen, like how Leonard Cohen
escaping from Leonard Cohen.
No, him. The stories of him going up to Mount Baldy, the Mount Baldy retreat. Doing the silent retreats, and then he went up to Mount Baldy for 5 years. He did a 5-year, and so it's like, oh yeah, that's that's cool, right?
What else attracted? Well, what else went as you were doing this research? It was like, oh, this looks good. So the thing where you don't even pay for the room and board. You just can't pay at all, until you have an option of paying afterwards. So that's
and whatever
really
you
cool.
can, and so that's thing within your means. It's not, oh, okay, now that you're done with this, here's your bill, right?
Yeah.
It's not that at all. It's like anything.
So and the fact that it was non-sectarian, because you're pretty big on Christianity. No, you're not. But and anything else attract you about it before you
Well,
know?
it was, and then it was it was like literally 10 days, and it was, I mean, it kind of was over the course of 12 days, right? Like
Right.
show up, day 0 is evening, and then you're silent for 10 days, and then kind of 9.5 days, and then the 10th day, and then the 11th morning is when you leave. But those aren't silent. But and it being kind of true silence, where it's like with all, and then it does say things like, this is not a digital detox, this is not a vacation, right? It's none of those things. It's not, don't do that. But it was, it was a digital detox. And in fact, it was that was something that was appealing.
So when I dropped you off there, it was me and Dow and you, and was Graham with us?
No, he stayed
in
the city.
He stayed in the city. So it was like terrifying, like a terrifying drive, just because I was so worried I was going to get you there late. But
and I was late. And so the thing is that that was like they said there were things like, oh, get here between 3 to 5 p.m. If you're going to be late, make sure to call us. If you don't show up by 6 p.m., we may give your slot to someone else. And I was like, does that mean there are people like waiting, like hang out, like outside on the waiting list?
Like waiting list?
Yeah, there is a waiting list, but
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
do they hang out and then they show up, or they wait to see if someone doesn't show up and then they get slotted in? I don't know.
Yeah.
But they're also actually they're people. So old students. They're new students, but then there are old students that do the 10-day thing. But you can also do like half things.
Mhm.
And so I think that's if you're also doing service, like if you're cooking and things like that, you can do a half, like a 5-day thing. And so sometimes maybe they plug in people halfway through.
But you also can't like start out like, oh, I want to just try out a 3-day one.
Yep.
If you're a new student, you have to make it through the 10-day retreat.
So they have 1-day and 3-day. I think they have 3-day. I don't know if they have any 1-days, but like weekend things. But yeah, absolutely no. You cannot do the 3-day until after you've done the 10-day. So
Yeah,
in the
it's
same
really
way, like you
cool.
can't donate, you can't support,
Yeah.
you can't work, you can't, you can't be, volunteer to, be a cook, for or a server, I guess, for the 10 days. You can't do any of that until you've been through a 10-day thing. Yeah.
So, and men and women are separated too, which is interesting. 'Cause I don't know if you had any gay men there, but I guess it didn't matter. I guess
Yeah,
we
but
don't-
it's, I mean, and that's
yeah.
what they said is like no physical contact,
Yeah.
no sexual activity, no sexual contact. Men and women are separated, but it also said, but also, it didn't say, just no heterosexual contact. It just said none
Yeah,
at all.
yeah,
So,
that's good.
I mean, it's entirely, I have no idea. Yeah,
So,
but that was, so, but yeah, they had, so men and women are separated. There's the photos like we put up, right? There's male boundary and female boundary.
Yeah.
They like mark off once you get there and you have the orientation, and then the course starts and you take the vow of noble silence. They divide like the meeting room, the dining room is divided by a curtain, and all the paths and grounds of the center are divided, and
So
then
you can't even walk where the women walked.
right, and
Yeah.
the dorm is obviously divided in half, like kind of like the college dorm, like our college dorm. It
Was,
had,
yeah.
you have the wing, the men's wing, and then a center
Mhm.
kind of area,
Yeah.
and then a woman's wing. And so, and then entrances, there were separate entrances. The meditation hall, everybody was in there together, but there was a men's side, a woman's side, and separate entrances to the hall.
So so when I dropped you off and you were like, okay, bye, and I was like, God, should I walk him in there? Or like I felt like I was dropping a kid off at camp.
Yeah.
And I was of course dying to see the inside, but I didn't get to go in. So what happened when you walked in? Were you scared at all? Were you nervous?
A little bit. But it was more because I was
You were
late.
Yeah.
Right. And so, like I think I've told you this story, is I was
Yes.
late for my first day of kindergarten.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of a deeply traumatic kind of thing, me
Yeah.
being late for, school,
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
First day of school. But it was fine. The only problem was that, everybody was already eating. So and I didn't know that there was going to be a dinner. And so and everybody's sitting at tables. And then, like one of the managers had to check me in, and I had all my bags. And then, since I had eaten already, we made a quick stop at Chipotle on the way over. I walked down to my room to check out my room and drop all my stuff off, and then I came back and sat at the table with 3 other people, and so we had our names at the table, and we could talk. We could talk about, and so I found out very, very little bit about some of the people who were there.
Were you sitting at a table with the person who you were rooming with? Or?
Nope.
Okay.
And
All right.
and so actually he came even later than I did. So that's the thing, is people were showing up later, and it was no problem. It was just like, oh yeah, it seemed, a few people showed up.
And
at
you were
6:30,
you
But the
contacted
problem
them.
was that like it was like 8 p.m. was when you had the first kind of group sitting in the hall, the meditation hall, and then taking the vow of silence, and so that was the big thing. And then
people were still
orientation.
walking
There
in.
was like 7:00. There was orientation, so there was dinner, orientation, and so I got there in time to watch the orientation, so it was fun.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
So what was all right? And then also, you didn't talk about the eating schedule and actually the schedule. So Why don't you talk about that?
So yeah, every day I had a pretty strict schedule. I'm trying to think if any of the days. Yeah, and it was printed, but it was
It's on
so
the website.
yeah, it's on the yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. In fact, and that's what's weird about it is like that schedule and the times. I mean, so the teacher Goenka, who's on videotape, right, and audio tape, and has been dead for 10 or 15 years, but like he talks about, oh, that's why you know you're doing this from 4:30 in the morning to 9 p.m. You know, and it's like, oh, it's the same. It's a universal schedule that they use at every center. It's not.
So
Yeah,
tell us the schedule.
yeah.
So 4 a.m.
4 a.m. Wake up bell. So.
And you're in sort of. You said it was kind of bougie. It was. It was.
Well, it was like a
nice.
Motel
Yeah.
6.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so I had a room, well, it was kind of like a suite. So it was like like a very tiny Motel 6 room. Like you'd walk in the door. And so, yeah, like a dorm hallway. But then you'd have a suite, right? And that's a very generous name for it. You'd walk in the door, and there would be a sink and kind of entry area, a bathroom with the toilet and shower, and then 2 doors for two rooms. So I had a roommate, but separated by a wall. But
That's
it was
very
it was
nice.
kind of room,
Yeah.
like a half room
Yeah.
with
That's.
a door.
Yeah. That's
And
nice.
apparently, yeah, and there are some other rooms where it was like you just have a curtain dividing you from your suite mate.
Mhm.
But I had a
You had
had a
door.
separate door, and there was
Yeah.
enough room for a twin bed and a chest of drawers and room to pace or possibly do tai chi in barely. So 4 a.m. Lights out would be 9:30 p.m. So, and then, and it's not like they would shut down the power or anything or come by to check to see if you had your lights on. There's nothing like that. But it was like, oh, lights out 9:30. But then, wake up bell at 4 a.m. Then 4:30. A bell to start meditation. Actually, 4:15, there would be a bell, and then that would be for you could either. It was kind of like 4:30 is the first meditation time, and so you could either go to the meditation hall, and sit in there and meditate, or you could meditate in your room. And I always just meditated in my room, and so 4:15 you get a bell, and then 4:30 you were supposed to start meditating. So I'd be meditating, and honestly, a few days in, sometimes I would meditate for a while at 4:30, and then maybe 5:10, 5:15 I might like lie back down on my bed and fall asleep or nap a bit. But so it was like 4:30 to 6:30 meditation. There'd be a bell at 6:30 a.m. and that would be.
So like 4:30 to 6:30 is sitting for 2 hours. Like so, if
Yeah.
you sat in
And
the
there's flexibility in there. I think the expectation, was that maybe you would meditate for an hour or take a break, shuffle around. Also with these time slots, there were restrictions. Like, so the assumption is that from 4:30 to 6:30, if there are people in their rooms meditating, like you're not supposed to take a shower or anything like that. Flushing the toilet, you could do that. They didn't say that, but like taking a shower, so like so silence. So there were windows of time, like I could take a shower from 4 to 4:30 a.m.
because there was
right?
no meditating going on.
Right.
Okay, and then you couldn't sing in the shower.
No singing, no
Okay,
talking,
no singing.
no talk, no
Okay, all right. So
talking to your
6:30.
roommate.
Yeah,
no.
so 6:30, maybe another bell rings, right, or something. 6:30 in the morning.
exactly, and then
Okay.
that's go to the dining hall. So walk down to the dining hall and get breakfast. And so breakfast is like a buffet kind of thing in the dining hall. And so what was there? There's like dry cereal and then hot cereal. So I would have oatmeal, or I don't know, maybe it was ponji. And what would I get? I'd actually put sunflower seeds and raisins and then sliced banana in my and butter. Get a slab of butter and put that in the oatmeal.
Wow. Okay.
And then I would also have, and I developed this over a couple of days, my regular meal. There was fruit. And I'd have an sliced apple with Greek yogurt. And then coffee. And there was a selection of teas and
How was the
coffees.
coffee?
It's, what was it? Nestle freeze-dried.
Oh yeah, you said it
Yeah,
was,
yeah. And so there's a big, I burned myself on
Instant
the
coffee.
big, the big hot cylinder of hot water.
Mm-hmm.
Those things with a tap.
Did you yell and get
No.
in trouble?
It's just like one time I was reaching over to open up the can of freeze-dried coffee grounds, and it was like.
So my sister,
singed myself,
the first thing my sister wanted to know is like, could you smile at other people at least? Could you be like, hello?
So that's the thing, is you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to interact at all. You're not supposed to make any gestures. You're not supposed to make eye contact. And so there were some people, like, I think I talked about this, as like the one guy always like would hold open the door for you, and you could feel him staring at you, and he's like wants that acknowledgement or like a nod or something like that, and you're not supposed to do that. So anyways, yeah, waiting, you wait in line silently, not talking to get your breakfast, and then had assigned seats at tables. And so that's the other thing is,
the same people?
Always
Okay.
the same people. So, and it was, instead of sitting 4 to a table, it was 3 to a table. So one, like 2 on one side and 1 in the middle on the other side. And so, yeah.
Oh, so you didn't,
were
if you looked
assigned-
up, you didn't see somebody.
Well, you did though.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
they're small tables. They're
Right.
not big tables. But everybody has room.
Mm-hmm.
But also the whole thing of like, you're going to eat, in the buffet style, and then you have to go, or, like dorm, whatever, cafeteria style, and you have to go find a place to sit with someone, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, you don't have to go through that whole process or building up a relationship with
Yeah,
someone.
I
it's
feel
like,
like,
I'm going to go sit with the old guys over there at that table, right?
I feel like
None of that.
that's part of the attraction for you. The silent thing
Yep.
is that you were not going to have to
Yep.
talk to anybody.
Have to do.
Yeah.
And so it was, in some ways, I think it was not good for me, because it's like, I need to be more sort of social and more comfortable in those kind of situations. And for me to,
Why do you
be
think
sort of allowed
Yeah.
to not interact with anyone and not have to make eye contact or
Lars-
not have to,
Yeah.
do all that.
Lars is asking if you were in a cult. No, Lars,
Yeah.
in case you've in case you've come in before we do a word from our sponsors, in case you've come in late, Rick went to a 10-day silent meditation retreat, a Vipassana retreat at the Vipassana Center up in near Rockford. And that's why we didn't have Radio Zero for the last couple of weeks. And he just came back this week, so he's telling us about being at this Vipassana retreat. So, all right, and so we're at breakfast. So the breakfast was good, and
So and that
each
was
day.
6:30 to 8, but you were really supposed to only go. Yeah, in fact, they said 6:30 to 7:15. You had to eat, get there on time, eat, and then 7:15 to 8 was when the servers and the cooks and teachers they ate. So then you could tool back to your room. You could take a shower then, right? So there's a window. 6:30 to 8 a.m. was another window for showering and stuff. And so I'd always go back to my room and sit there and not meditate, right? This is good. It's funny. Maybe I'd walk around. And then 8 a.m. So 7:45 a.m. there'd be another bell, and it's 15 minutes until group meditation, and so then you'd have to go to the hall, and there'd be a group meditation. You'd sit in the main, the meditation hall. That was usually, you'd always get instruction earlier, like the night before, and so in the morning group meditation, you would just be going through your meditation, and there might be a little bit of instruction on tape. Not on tape, and it's digital. So so there were teachers sitting in the front, but all of the presenting of the materials and process were done from recording. So the young male teacher would hit hit a button on an iPad, and then in the sound system they'd play the tape of this guy, the teacher.
Oh, you didn't. Yeah, in the sound system. But did you get to see him too? Oh, you
Later
were
evening.
Yeah, oh, okay.
So there would be evening. Yeah,
Ah,
that's
okay.
later. That's 7 p.m.
All right. So in the
Um,
sitting room, was there like a giant Buddha in there or
Nope.
anything? Was
No.
there a Christ?
Nope. No
No,
symbols
okay.
at all. Exit
symbols.
signs.
Okay.
There was, yeah, there were TV sets, but that was later. But yeah, it's just sound system, wood floor, big open room.
Oh, wood floor.
Three people sitting kind of at the front, up on a platform. 3 teachers, the young man teacher, the old man teacher, and then old lady teacher.
Are they facing away from you
No,
or facing
no, they're facing.
you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then all right. So what happened the first day? Like you already had to sit and meditate without any instruction the night before, right? Or did they give you a little bit of instruction?
I'm trying to remember the first night. It may have just been orient. No, I do feel like we got instruction, and it was all about it. It's all breathing. The first 3 days is focusing in on breathing, and so that was the first thing. Was like, focus in on the triangle of your nose and upper lip, and focus in on natural breathing. So not, the, what is it called? An intentional breathing or whatever,
Oh yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
dragon breathing, where you breathe in sharply through your nose and then breathe out sharply
Those
through
are all
your
like
mouth.
yoga things.
And you say things like, I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out. It's like, no, don't do that. It's all
Because you
just-
used to do that.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that kind of breathing in, breathe out, and actually talking about it, and it's like natural breathing, and the idea is you're focusing on feeling a sensation and focusing in on that sensation in this very tight triangle on your face, and so it's 3 days of that, and each day it was like, okay, tighten it in the circle or the triangle, get it a little tighter, and then finally it was like just concentrate on the line between your upper lip and nostrils and feel sensation there.
Okay, we
and
got
it's just all like targeted and natural breathing, and just feel something and focus on that.
Yeah, so we've got some questions. So Cody B, of course, just saying, so you joined a cult. We got Dannon says, sounds like the prison dining scenes on Andor season 1. I reminding everybody that this is Rick's talking about having gone to a silent meditation retreat. So Danny Ingram is asking if this is mindful breathing that you're talking about.
Yeah, I would say that. However, it's all about focusing on. So it was like getting to the point where you're just focused on sensation, and then also not letting your mind wander. So that was the biggest thing. It was like, trying to get into the present and just focus on that. And so that was, the big thing is like, day 2 or something, I'm like, basically sitting, like trying to hold a boiling lid down on my head, right? Where it's like, just like trying to keep myself from
Well, what
going to
were
the
the
future, go to
different
the
thoughts
past,
that you were
future,
having?
past,
Oh, okay.
just everything.
Yeah.
Everything, you think about it. Anybody who's done meditation, but anybody who's just, anybody who's ruminative, right? Thinks about stuff. Anyone who's a thinker.
Can't believe I said that. I can't believe I said that.
Or it's like,
earlier
this
today,
is what happened. This person, and then I'm thinking about what I'm going to say to them the next time, or it's like how what I'm going to, this is what I'm going to do to my studio. I'm going to, things I'm going to
planning
renovate.
mind.
Oh yeah, all of that, and then and also past mind, right? The future and the past, right? It's just all that kind of stuff, and it's just like finding yourself darting away, and then also just sensation. Oh, somebody farted. It's like listen to that. Oh,
I hope I don't
My
fart.
back hurts. My
Yeah.
back hurts, and it's
Yeah.
like no. You stay focused on this thing. So it's all about, and then not using words, not using any kind of icons. So don't imagine, the Buddha sitting there looking at you, or say, oh, great Buddha. It's like, no, do not do none of that. It's all about, focusing your attention on the right now and this very specific area. So yeah, it was about focusing, and so you would talk to somebody who had been through it, and it was like day 3 they started having hallucinations.
Now, I talked to a bunch of people. Like, people.
And so
most people don't make it through this. Or
I
not
got
most, but
I got to a point where I did hit a point. So it was that, I think it was the second day, maybe third day where it was like the boiling lid, where it was like it wasn't my mind bouncing anymore. Right, I was able to get that focus, but then it was like, or I kind of was able to get myself centered, but it was still like, just like
Were
thoughts,
you? Yeah.
thoughts and everything, just trying, like,
Right.
and then all of a sudden it was like, whew, I got through it, and I was focused. But then sometimes I would drift off in kind of like dreamlike things, where it was like, and not like, I mean, I guess it could become hallucinatory, but it was kind of like, to me, it was like dream narratives, where it was like I'm all of a sudden, like I'm there, I'm focused, and then all of a sudden I realize I'm designing a user interface or something, right? Like, oh, how, like a drop down menu for meditation or something, like kind of those weird narratives that your dream brain does, where it's like I had gotten into that state where I'd gotten past the thinking about everything in the past and future, but then it was like, oh, my brain's still doing the kind of processing thing it does when you're asleep, where it's like, oh, I'm thinking of a giraffe and my vegetable garden. And so now I've got a little story going on about growing giraffes, you know, or something, right? It's like weird little narratives that are kind of based on some sort of reality, but yeah, you're just kind of trying to stitch together some kind of story out of just random brain firings, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And so it got a little weird, but
When
it was okay.
When you said like the boiling pot, was it you like going, God damn it, how come I can't focus my mind? Like, were you angry?
It was more like not like my brain really, really trying to jump either to listen to something, hear something, think about something in the past or the future. And it was just like, it was kind of like, initially, I guess it's like my brain would be going, you know, in spatially, almost like, oh, over there to the left, the past, over there to the right, the future, right?
Yeah.
Or like on the timeline, and then oh, somebody farted. Oh, my brain goes over there where the fart sound happened, or my hip is bothering me, and then my brain goes down there. Whereas I had gotten myself centered, but then it was like everything was kind of concentrated. Mm-hmm. My thoughts were concentrated, and it was like a furious boil.
So
and then finally, it was just like you sit on that for so long. At some point, you either lose your mind and have to leave, or you kind of break through.
Was there any kind of instruction about any of this at all?
A little bit,
yeah. Like,
and that's the thing, is you could make an appointment with the teachers and go talk to them. I never did that. And so there were people you could talk to. So there, the TA, not the TA, the RA, the resident advisor, the student teacher that was kind of the person who was supervising us, you know, was in the dorm. And if, you know, you were out of toilet paper, you could go and say, hey, I'm out of toilet paper. Or you could go to them and say, hey, I'm losing my mind.
Oh, yeah.
I need to talk to somebody. And then it's like, oh, he'd make you an appointment, you know, with the teachers, and you could go talk to them. But I didn't do any of that. In fact, I didn't tell you the after the silence was over the last day or whatever, the student teacher guy came up and said, Richard, because I was registered as Richard. It's like, how was everything okay for you? I didn't hear anything from you. It was like, and I felt a little bad where it was like, because he was like saying, you know, some people are just like, you know, I'm losing my mind, I need help, you know, and it was like, you never had any problems? I was like, no, I was okay. But I felt bad. I was like, well, thank you for, you know, doing all the work. But I was like, oh, I should have probably just gone and done a couple of talks with the teachers and the student just to do it right. But I was enjoying, you know, just working silently and not having to interact with people.
Okay.
So we were at like 8 a.m. You know, you got the first group meditation. You go there. You have to go to that, and you're sitting in the group hall, and you do meditate. I think you get you're doing the kind of last night's assignment or last day's assignment still in that group meditation. And then you get a break. It's like an hour. You get a break, walk around a bit outside, beautiful sort of grounds. The men's side was this like kind of farm, like reclaimed farmlands with prairie plants all over and some trails cut in it. And so you could wander around there and pick up a few ticks and get some sun and, work out the pain in your hips from sitting
And
for an hour.
Yeah,
and then you'd come back.
Yeah.
And then they would say, then there would be instruction. They'd play the tape, and the guy would say, "Okay, now start focusing on a smaller area on your nose."
So when during the instruction, were you supposed to be doing that, or are you supposed to listen and then do the thing that you're supposed to do?
No. During instruction, you're kind of meditating. The guy's talking, the tape,
Mm-hmm.
and all this. You can find this stuff, the
I'm
tapes
sure.
and everything. But there's instruction, and then it was like then the teachers would say, "Okay, you can now either go back to your room and meditate individually, or you can stay in here."
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, I would then again go back to my room. So that was like at 9, and then you'd have what was that window? 9 to 11 was another meditation time.
And you didn't have your watch either. You didn't.
I didn't.
Yeah,
Other
yeah.
people had watches, so
Yeah.
you weren't supposed to bring watches like clocks that ticked and things like that. But you could bring clocks and everything. Like I brought a clock, but I didn't bring a watch.
Mm-hmm.
I vaguely knew what time it was because in the room had a clock too, a digital
in
clock.
your own room.
Yeah, each of
Okay.
the rooms. So like a motel
Yeah.
clock,
So
little digital motel clock.
So Chad is asking, what did you do to stay busy? Were you allowed to write or draw?
No writing or drawing, right? So
Yeah.
no, you weren't supposed to bring any writing material, any.
But you were
drawing
busy
material.
the whole time meditating.
No, not the whole time. Yeah, so like that. So those downtimes.
Oh, you
so
had
then,
some downtime.
so 9 to 11, right? More individual meditation, either in your room or the hall, and then another bell would ring, and 11 a.m. would be lunch, and so go to lunch, go to the dining hall.
But I mean, it wasn't downtime because you were supposed to be sitting and meditating.
Well, there was break time, so I'll get to that.
Oh,
Like so,
okay.
11
Okay.
a.m. You go to lunch.
And what was lunch?
So lunch would be again buffet style. It was always usually rice with
Yeah.
rice mit Scheisse.
Reis mit
Scheisse.
Scheisse.
Rice with shit.
This is like a
But sometimes
band
it was
joke,
like
or-
there was pesto one day,
Yeah.
noodles and pesto.
Yeah.
Vegetarian though, so like rice, some sort of vegetable thing like a curry or something, and then there was always also a salad bar, and so I'd have a bowl. And for me, my motto by like day 2 was like everything's a bowl. Like I just would get a bowl of rice and vegetables, and then I'd get a bowl of salad, and everybody, other people were eating. I was a little judgy, but other people were like putting things on plates. But it's like, oh yeah, you had a pile of rice and then you pour the curry thing on it. But it was like everything worked out to me much better in a bowl. And then coffee again, tea, whatever,
Yeah, it's nice that you could have
milk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because it's the instant coffee, and I'd never seen this instant coffee before. Yeah, it was like Nestle, but in a red can. Not the Nescafe kind of that's popular in like South America. I've had that. Whatever, like the there are different brands of instant coffee, but yeah, this was anyways.
All right, you have another question.
Yeah.
I'm writing the answer to it, but Ryan Andrew Adams says, did they provide robes or some uniform, or
Nope.
you just wore your comfortable clothes
So
of your
loose clothing was the instruction. Pants, you couldn't wear shorts. The clothing shouldn't be too tight. So what I wore was basically kind of like pajama bottoms, or like I had some linen pants, and then I had some, what are they called? Not joggers. Is that what they're called? What are they called? They're kind of like bed sleeping pants. They're
Mhm.
kind of terry cloth. What are those called? They're not called joggers.
Just comfortable pants?
Yeah,
Like-
no, but they're not.
Oh,
And some
there's a
people
name
were
for 'em.
wearing like regular pants, but like, you weren't supposed to wear anything too tight or too revealing. Like you couldn't wear tank tops, but you also couldn't wear shorts. And so some people were wearing T-shirts that had like logos and stuff on it, which I was like, come on, please, we're stuck here not having anything to read, and then I got to read your startup company's slogan, for an hour while I'm sitting behind you, although you're not supposed to be looking around. So yeah.
Yeah.
But
we just-
it was like, there's something to read.
Chad Twiner is telling Ryan that they had Heaven's Gate issued Nikes. And
Yeah, so you weren't supposed to. You could have slippers. So I had like indoor shoes and then outdoor shoes. You always were taking off your shoes to go into the meditation hall,
of
go into
course,
the
yeah.
dorm. The dining hall, apparently, they said. So for old students, they were saying now we're allowing shoes in the dining hall, so you didn't have to take off your shoes going into the dining hall. So yeah, it was all. There was no issued clothing. But I think if you wore something inappropriate, somebody would say something and say, "Hey, you can't wear that. You can't wear that tank top."
I feel like, I saw, like I was looking like I feel like I saw that old students were not supposed to wear any kind of adornments.
Yeah.
So like I would imagine like, cause I've seen it when we do our Zen sitting group here, I've seen, once in a while somebody will come in and they're like really nicely dressed. And I remember in the Prairie Sangha too, like sometimes you'd get like people would come in all fancied up and stuff. And so when I went to pick you up, I took off all my jewelry. I took
Yeah.
off,
And so there were
'Cause I
things
didn't wanna
about
be a-
adornments, but also I feel like tattoos, maybe. But like, so
Uh-oh.
the new, well, I don't know, but no, like a couple of people had tattoos, obviously, but the teacher, the young man teacher in quotes, because he wasn't really old, but he had a tattoo. You could see, and like he wore, like, what are they called? What it's like the 3/4 capri pants? Is that what those are? And a t-shirt.
I feel
That
like
was
capri
his-
pants are lady pants,
Yeah,
but yeah.
so
that's
what
okay.
are they called when men wear them? The kind of 3/4 length,
It's
and
I don't know.
So it was that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. But yeah, t-shirt. So I just wore t-shirt and lounge pants.
Maybe
That's what they're called, I think.
Cody's
mostly.
saying Senka. All right, Chad Twiner's asking, prefacing this with dumb question: were people hooking up with each other?
Yeah, so that's the thing is that was one of the rules. Is no sexual activity.
There was a no.
divided male and female.
You weren't allowed to talk to
territories.
each other,
Weren't
so
allowed to
you
talk to
weren't
each other.
allowed to hook
We're
up with
supposed to
each
interact.
other.
Supposed to leave the doors open for when you were doing individual meditation in your rooms. I didn't always do that. So yeah, but there was.
And
I mean,
women, men and women,
It's possible it would happen, but
Yeah,
it would require a lot of work.
and men and women were, but you could
Segregated,
probably
yeah.
were segregated,
But
and you could go with somebody else though, right? But I know if I did see that, like if you're
Oh, yeah.
with your spouse, you guys are going to be separated and you're not supposed to hang out with each other.
yeah, at the end I found out the one guy was there with his brother. His brother was a old student, had been there a bunch of times, and then like I saw them, like after the Noble Silence, they were like walking on the trail together and talking.
That's what
and
I
yeah,
saw.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, they know each other. And then I found out, they're brothers. And there were other people. There were some old students who afterwards they like, this was way after like checkout time, where they were talking to some of the administration people or the managers, and it was like, oh, and then there's somebody who had worked. There were two guys who had, like a young guy. In fact, I think it might have been the brother of the other guy knew the older Indian gentleman, and they were talking about, you worked at the restaurant, right? And they kind of knew each other. So
Okay.
It was interesting.
All right, and then
I think someone actually said that their wife was. I feel like somebody said their wife was actually on the other side, right? But they never saw each other.
yeah.
Or you could see, in the main meditation hall, right? The women were on the other side. So I guess if your wife was over there, you'd be able to look over and see them sitting there, but you
Yeah.
weren't supposed to interact with them.
Yeah, I believe it. So, and Cody B says Senka. I don't know if I've
Senka.
yeah, Senka.
There was decaffeinated coffee, but not Senka. I don't remember. Actually, maybe there wasn't decaffeinated coffee. There was decaf tea.
Okay. All
Senka is specifically decaffeinated.
right, let's go back
History
to
of Senka. That's why the orange ring on the decaf
this-
carafes is because Senka was
Senka.
orange.
Okay, all
Senka
right.
is responsible for the orange.
But there
Oh.
also was caffeinated caffeine. Or there was also
Oh, yeah.
caffeinated coffee too. Okay,
Yeah.
well that was my big question. Is just like is there because I was
Yeah.
worried about that. Because also I want to make a note that as we were driving like frantically, all I could think of was I got to get Rick some kind of Chipotle. I got to get I got to get Rick some Chipotle before we get up there because he's going to starve. I was so worried that you were going to
Yeah,
be so hungry.
That's the thing is the dinner seemed great that night, the orientation
Yeah.
night,
Yeah.
first night, the
Yeah.
dinner
It-
was, it smelled amazing, but I didn't get to eat any because I was already stuffed.
Oh.
But so you have your lunch. That's again 45-minute window, and then that's the time also that's reserved for meeting with the teachers. So you sign up on the sign up board if you needed to talk to the teachers, and then that window was from 11 to 1 p.m.
Okay.
And so that was a big break time.
Yeah.
And
So that's when you could
when
hug
I
up-
would
hook up
I
with
would
people. No.
well, I guess you could. Yeah. I would go back to my room and then I would secretly do Tai Chi. In my
Secretly.
room. You're not really so that was the thing is you weren't supposed to do any like heavy exercise, distracting kind of thing. Like
That's
so
not
you weren't
heavy
supposed to go
exercise.
well,
But
I
yeah,
know.
I understand.
yes,
But yeah,
thank
it
you
was
for being judgy.
No,
but
it's-
what I mean is like you weren't supposed to go out jogging, around on the paths. You weren't supposed to be doing, push-ups and everything like that. You
Right.
could go out and you could walk around, but you weren't supposed to be doing like heavy demonstrative type exercise, right? And yeah, I know Tai Chi, but Tai Chi's a little. You also weren't supposed to be practicing any other types of meditation
yeah,
and things
that's
like
right.
that. You're supposed to stay focused on
Yeah.
this method, for training. It's like it's fine. You can do your crazy woo woo meditation and pray to Buddha or pray to Jesus, on your spare time. But right now, just do the main thing. And so Tai Chi is a little. It's not though. I mean, it is. It's a martial art, but so I would do that in my room, but I felt like I was kind of cheating a bit. And then then you'd have a gong at 12:45, 1 p.m. group meditation. You have another group meditation.
So
and
was there
then-
instruction with that?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
there'd be group meditation, and then there'd be an hour, and then you'd get a break, and then you come back, and it was the same pattern. And then there would be instruction, and then at the end of the instruction, you had the option of staying in the group meditation hall or going back to your room. And so that was like that would have been, what was it? There was what was going on then? So it would be 1 to 2:30, and then 2:30. Oh, and then you could do then 2:30 to 5. I think there were big windows in there of. Boy,
Well,
yeah.
no. 4:00 was the dinner then.
Nope. 5
Oh,
o'clock.
5:00 was
tea.
dinner. Oh, was
That's
tea.
why I'm trying to figure out the math. It
Oh,
was like
okay.
1 to 1:30 or 1 to 2:30, and then 2:30 to 5.
How many showers did you take, and when did you take a shower?
I'll tell you as
Okay,
I go
all right.
through the schedule.
Okay.
And so then 5 o'clock or 4:45, another bell. Oh no, 5 o'clock. The food bells would happen right on the time. So 5 o'clock tea time.
Were the food bells different than the other
No.
bells? Okay.
All the same bell.
Okay.
It was kind of like the alarm clock. It would be 15 minutes before meditation time, be exactly on the time for food. So that 5 p.m. would be the tea time, and so new students could have tea, coffee, with milk, and fruits. Old students weren't supposed to have any food and tea. They could have plain tea without milk. So that was one of the kind of for old students, one of the things was you're not supposed to eat afternoon, right? And so they couldn't have any fruit or milk in their tea, but I could. So I did not have a cup of coffee then. I made a mistake one day. Oh, I did have a cup. Did I have a cup of coffee at 5? I didn't. I had a decaf tea. And the thing is, decaf tea is not caffeine free.
Right. It
Still
still
has some caffeine.
you
and so
keep
that
saying-
that screwed
yeah.
me up at night. But so then I would have a peppermint tea, and then I'd have an orange that day. That time I would have an orange. So I'd have bananas and apples. I rationed my fruit, whereas other people were just eating. Yeah, like the guy across from me, who ate a huge amount of food.
That would be me.
He would, in the tea break, he would have like 2 plates, and it would be like multiple oranges. Yeah, at least 2 of everything, 2 bananas, 2 apples, and he'd be eating all of that, right? And it was like I was like, I can't eat these many bananas and everything like that. So I was down to half a banana in my oatmeal at breakfast, an apple, segmented apple with Greek yogurt, and then at lunchtime I didn't have any fruit, and then I'd have an orange at tea time. And that was the last
Wait,
food.
can I ask you? You always said that the new students could have tea with milk. Does that mean that you could put the milk in your tea?
Yes.
Okay, so but all right.
But
could you drink it?
Old students
yeah,
could only have
tea.
clear tea.
Yeah. And so the milk, like, did you ever try to have milk without, like, separate from the tea?
I didn't, because I don't really like
Yeah.
plain milk, and I
Oh,
didn't.
you
I
didn't
didn't.
put milk
I
in
think
the
I put
tea.
milk in tea that the time I had decaf tea. But I don't. I don't.
Okay.
Like, I don't. I mean, I kind of. Yeah, I don't like tea with milk.
All right. So after the dinner, then what happened? Then
Another 6 p.m. Another group. So I'd eat my tea and then go back to my room and sit there and stare at the ceiling, because it was break time. And then 6 p.m. another group meditation. So you go and meditate for an hour, and then break, and then come back to the hall, and then it would be a lecture or presentation, and then the videos. They'd show the videos of the guru guy.
oh, so
And
you
so
only get the
it's
videos
video.
at
Yeah,
night.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was kind of like Vipassana talk. So it was a little bit of instruction, but mostly, telling stories and saying, you got to do the work. And that was my favorite story, the story of the oil, bottles of oil. Like, so it was like things like, or it was like, this boy went to get oil for his, cooking oil for his mother, went to the store. It was 10 rupees of oil. He bought 10 rupees of oil, and coming back, he fell, and the bottle spilled, and he lost half the oil. And then he came home and told his mother, "I'm so sorry, mother. I've lost half the oil." Right? So the pessimist, right? And then the second boy, and then he's like, "Stories being stories. There's a second son, and he went to get more oil, and went to the store with 10 rupees and bought a bottle of oil. And then stories being stories, he was coming back, and the second boy fell and lost half the oil, and came home and told his mother, "Look, mother, I fell, lost half the oil, but I saved half the oil." So I had a thing. And so he's an optimist. I'm like, okay, yeah, great. The glass is half full, half empty story. And then he said, then a third boy, who was a meditator of Vipassana, trained, he went to the store with 10 rupees and got some oil. Walking back home, of course, stories being stories, he fell and spilled half the oil. He came home and said, "Mother, I'm so sorry. I've spilled. I lost half the oil, but half the oil is still here. And I'm going to go out right now, and I'm going to go work and earn 5 additional rupees so I can fill the oil bottle back up." And so that was the extra
Wow.
part of the story, which was
Wow.
like, work. You got to work at this. It's all about work. It's not about being optimistic or pessimistic. It's about, you're doing this, and then you got to work. It was just a work story. It was like, hey, you can't just sit here and expect some kind of miracle to happen. This is going to change your life. You're going to get some kind of lightning bolt. It's like, you got to sit here. You got to do the meditation. You got to do the work, right? So it was things like that. Stories, talking about it. A little bit of, every once in a while, a little bit of reincarnation would pop up, but very rarely. And so everything, it was all kind of like, Buddhist teacher stories.
So yeah, and
But on, like, transferred from videotapes. So
yeah.
4:3 aspect ratio must have been shot in like maybe late 80s, early 90s. A blue backdrop, you can hear all the people in the background.
Yeah, that's cool.
Coughing and stuff, and,
Yeah.
and it was just videotaped
Yeah.
lectures. But anyways, okay, yeah, and so then you'd have that, and then there would be, then you those were long. There was like an hour and a half. You'd be sitting there on your tuffet, and but you could at least move around and everything like that and squirm, and it was less restrictive. You weren't meditating while you were watching it, and then there'd be a break. And then it was like you come back, there'd be a short instruction and meditation. It's like, okay, now. And I think that's usually when the big meditations, like the big next instructions would happen, is right at the end of the day. And then, so that would be like from 9 to 9:30, there'd be a short meditation. And then it was like, take rest, take rest, take rest. And then you could go back to your room. And then there was a window. Oh no, it was 9 p.m. when that would end. And then there was a 9 to 9:30 window before lights out. And again, it's not like they shut down the lights in the building, but I'd go back to my room, and that's when I would take a shower.
Okay.
Because that was an allowed time to take showers.
And how
be
did you make
noisy.
sure that like you weren't? Do you worry that your roommate was going to want to take a shower at that same time?
Well, I could hear. So he was taking showers and baths. He would do that. I think he would do that during 6:30 to 8. Like, I'd come back from breakfast and I'd be lying on my bed and I could hear him go into the bathroom. And so that was one of the window times where he could do showers and stuff. I think he was, yeah. And I found out later that he would walk around. So he was never there at the end of the night, or he'd come in after I'd taken the shower. So he would wander around, I think, at night around the trails and stuff, kind of
at night.
decompress.
Okay, we have a question from Ryan Andrew Adams.
Yeah.
Would you go through this experience again, or did you get everything you needed from this one time? And also, Jeff Elbel a while ago asked, what's the takeaway? Like, what are some of your takeaways?
Oh, takeaways. Okay,
Yeah.
but would I do it again? Well, so that's the thing is like they talk about like regular schedules for this and everything like that. And it's like, oh yeah, you should be doing the 10-day thing every year. Like you need to get a tune up and that process. And so, and there are people there, old students, going through it. I don't know. I'm the jury's out right now. Of whether or not I'll go in, and so that's the thing is once you're an old student, you can also go and you can be a server, right? You can
Would you do that?
Maybe. I mean,
Yeah.
that might be kind of fun.
Yeah.
It may not be fun because there was that one day where the one guy who seemed to be taking care of all the food seemed really upset. So and it's just kind of like so that's the thing is like people not talking, but like so
Yeah.
people who drop out, right?
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
restlessness,
Yeah.
like beforehand, like you can I mean obviously, right? But like when you don't have any verbal, kind of communication, right? But people's like you could tell when somebody's getting freaked out or something or are upset. And they're rustly even when they're meditating, right? So I think one of the guys who left midway through that was sitting next to me. I mean, I feel like the day before, he was just it was kind of driving me crazy. He's like whoosh whoosh whooshing, like rearranging, repositioning himself like constantly during the meditation. That's like, but then yeah, the one of the cook server guys was he just physically he seemed weird. Also, he was cleaning up stuff before we were done, and that was like it was not in sequence with the schedule, right? It was a little weird.
Wow.
And so, but anyways, what was would I go back? Yeah, maybe. I mean, it would be an interesting thing to do regularly, I guess. Yeah, once a year. But I don't know. I don't know if. Yeah.
I was so jealous, like when because I've been doing meditation too for a while. When I came to pick you up, I was like, you think I could do this? And you were like, no, women are different.
No, I didn't. No, what I was saying was, and it was a little sexist, but it was just kind of like, yeah, I don't even want to talk about it. But it was just kind of like, this feels kind of like, well, it was because I had heard that interview with and I wish I could remember who this was. It wasn't even an actress I knew, but she was talking about her boyfriend, and they were talking about therapy, and it was like she was saying, oh yeah, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, men love that. It's like, oh, you're working on stuff and you're doing stuff. She's just kind of like making fun, like, not making fun, but just like saying it's such a man thing, like to be, working on yourself in kind of this, like I'm going to the shop and I'm going to do these things and I'm building this thing, or I've got to check off these items, and and I was thinking it was kind of like that, the whole silent thing and brooding kind of, it felt masculine, I guess, like in a weird way.
We were.
But I think I've come to a deeper understanding that maybe not. I don't know. Anyways, but it was. I mean, there were an equal number of women there. So, but anyways, but what takeaways? I mean, for me, the biggest takeaway, and so that's the thing, is I didn't even talk about the other meditation. So most of the time, like 6 days, was the Vipassana meditation, which is like body scanning and focusing.
After the 3,
and
focusing your breath.
Yeah. Even out your kind of sensation all the way across your body. So it's kind of a way of training your mind to stop being reactive and repulsive, I guess, where it's like, this hurts me, or this feels good, and like trying to sort of even out your response to everything. And that's the whole point, is kind of not to disengage yourself from your senses and reality, but kind of get to a point where you're narrowing down your reactiveness, right? Where it's kind of more like you're experiencing things. You're not so much bouncing back and forth between, pleasure and repulsion, basically. Like, this makes me feel good. This makes me feel bad, right? It's like trying to get yourself to kind of experience things in a more even way. And so takeaways, though, were that idea of not meditating with words, actions.
This is for you,
visualizations. For me,
because you were doing
like,
that.
Because my meditation, and the teacher, said it's fine to pray, it's fine to chant things and everything like that, but you're not meditating, right? You're preoccupying your mind. You're filling your mind. You're blocking out what's happening, right? And so for me, that is, so I was doing like my regular sort of, what would you call it, practice, meditation practice, had boiled down to sort of deliberate breathing, along with kind of a Gatha meditation, where it's like, I'm breathing in,
my friend
breathing
Ian
out.
My friend Ian wanted to know what your Gatha meditation was.
I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out, I'm feeling cool, I'm feeling calm, and you synchronizing this with your breath, and I am in the present. This moment is precious. And that's a variation I've modified, whatever. And then I was also sometimes doing yoga, a little bit of chair yoga with all that. So basically, and I remember even talking about this, it's like, I like this when I was taking the meditation classes. It's like, I like this because I'm doing all these things, but it's like, all I'm really doing is filling up my mind, preoccupying myself so that I'm not, the squirrel isn't running, or a different squirrel is running on the wheel, right? It's not the future squirrel, the past squirrel, the squirrel, the planning squirrel. It's like, this is the breathing in and out, doing yoga, labeling thing, squirrel, right? And so I was just, a distraction, right? As opposed to focusing on meditating and focusing on the mind-body connection, right? Basically, how my brain works and how my brain responds physically, that connection between your physical body and your brain, which are together, right?
Appears to have been. There seems to be some research connecting the two.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing too, is like the lectures at the end of the night. I mean, there was, and it's a little out of date, but there was, talking about all that science stuff, and it's like, we aren't, made of, there's space between atoms and everything like that. We're not, a physical, there's, all the kind of, science of, just physics and stuff, all that kind of stuff, talking about that. And then, talking about, you don't need to be fully into the methodology, and some of the different details of it, but just this practice and this meditation practice, where you're kind of getting in touch and focusing the way you kind of physically sense things, has an effect on your well-being
Mhm.
outside of the meditation, right?
Yeah.
It can make you calmer. It can make you less reactive. It can help make you happier and everything like that. But then he was also saying it's not a lightning bolt. It's like maybe you get angry and then you stay angry for 6 hours after somebody's said something to you. And then it's like you start doing this practice, and then maybe now somebody pisses you off. He didn't say that, but it's like, and then you cool down after 5 hours, right? And he was like saying, just use this method and work on it and see if you start feeling results outside. So it wasn't even, so that's kind of, I don't know what I liked about it. And also the takeaways where it was like, this is not a cure-all. It's not a magical thing that's just going to happen. And then the explanations of, silence, like the vow of noble silence.
Oh yeah, that was really cool.
Was because it was like, it's not just, it's not this ritual. It's like, so if you don't have the vow of silence, then, you're going to go to dinner, you're going to sit down, and somebody's going to say, in that last meditation, I saw a glowing light, and I felt a vibration all the way throughout my body. And then you're going to go, I didn't see a light. I didn't feel a vibration. I'm doing it wrong. What's going on? And it's like, anytime you start talking about your personal experience and everything like that, you start sort of spinning out, right? Well, not necessarily, but yeah, you
start comparing yourself to other people.
Comparing.
Yeah.
You start setting goals where it's like, I have to have this happen. And it's like, and it's like, some people, and the sensation that you feel and the kind of consistent sensation that you feel in the meditation, it's for different people, it's different things, right? And if you got into somebody else's brain and you find out, they feel this warm feeling throughout their body, and you go, that's just because they're in a warm room. You might, it's like you're
bringing all the stories and baggage to, like, it's just you're not doing the work anymore. Okay,
and you're not doing the work. Yeah.
Jeff's got a couple of questions. He said this silent sitting could be rough with a hip problem. I think you said
there were some older people, right, who were set up on chairs, right? So I mean, if you had physical problems, and so for me, it would get bad after an hour or so, especially later on, where it was like, okay, now really focus on keeping still.
Yeah.
And that's like, there was one the first day of that where I sat and didn't move for an hour, and then I got up and I had a dead foot and nearly fell over, and I had to lean on the wall and slap my dead foot until it came back. But and so I there would be breaks, and I would regularly walk around. Everybody was tweaking their, like, so people had all sorts of crazy cushions and devices and different benches. Like, there was, it was like, maybe one of the advantages of going to it would be to see, kind of a potpourri of sitting options, like different pads, and like some people were sitting on 3 of those cushions because they're big and tall, and then they didn't want their feet completely crossed down. And then there are other people who were completely on just a flat mat, and then there were people who had the little kneeling benches. And one guy had this weird kind of cushion that actually kind of looked like a lotus leaf, but also kind of like a butt, that they were sitting in, that kind of supported. And then some people were using back jacks later on.
That's cool.
Yeah, they had some back jacks there.
Very comfortable.
Yeah. I was like, hey, it's a back jack. We have a back jack. But then I would, when I would meditate in my room, I would just sit on my bed. I would do sitting chair. I would sit in the chair.
Could you lean
meditation.
back?
I didn't. You're not supposed to.
Oh, okay.
Really.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to. And it was like, you can't lie down in the group meditation.
Oh.
They said, but if you got to do it, if you got to do lying down meditation, do that in your room, right? It was like, but don't do it. And then the teacher, on the videotape was saying, it's like, you shouldn't really lie down though. And it's like, all of a sudden, you're in your room, and then you lie down, and then you start snoring, and then you can hear throughout the dorm, other people then hear the snoring, and then they lie down, and then pretty soon everybody's
Everybody
sleeping
feels like they can
instead
do
of
that.
meditating.
Yeah. Ryan
Yeah.
Andrew Adams says, I miss the computer chairs from the 80s when you sit forward but your
Yeah.
knees back. Yeah, I
You
had one of those. And I have a bench, like you bought me a meditation bench, little bench that you sit when you fold your knees behind.
So a lot of people had it's not quite that chair, but it is just a one like an angled stool, but you put your butt on it, you put your legs through it, kind of.
Yeah.
So they'd be kneeling. It would be a way
Yeah.
of support, kind of like kneeling.
Have you ever sat on that?
I
Mine?
haven't. I did try one day. I was mixing it up, and I rotated my tuffet and then sat
90
kneeling,
degrees, yeah.
using that as, because the hard bench thing, although people had the bench things and then pads on that. It was
Yeah,
just, like,
yeah,
amazing the different
yeah.
approaches people had.
You have to sit on my bench at some point.
Yeah, I'll
make
try it
you
out.
do that. Jeff also asks, but you have some new habit or technique that you'll carry forward regularly now?
I'm working. Yeah, that version, the Vipassana meditation, where it's the kind of not doing any kind of visualization, not doing any kind of talking, any kind of labeling, any kind of deliberate breathing. It's really just sitting and it's body scanning, basically. And when I've done body scanning before, it was like head. In fact, like on that episode of The Bear where he's saying things like chair.
Yeah.
It's like labeling things.
Mhm.
It's like even that when I would do body scans, it was like, to me, it was always labeling. It's like, oh, ears, and it's like
Yeah.
not doing that where it's just like, oh, you're basically scanning up and down through your body. And then if there's a part, something that's bothering you popping up or something that feels better, it's like sitting and focusing on it and pushing it back down, trying to even it out. So you're trying to just get yourself, and that's what I'm doing now.
That was
the
my
practice.
question is
Yeah.
so, I'm sitting there and like my left shoulder hurts and my right shoulder doesn't hurt. And so I'm trying to figure out why my left shoulder hurts or
Yeah.
how to make it more like my right shoulder. Is
Yep.
that
Even and
okay.
out, trying to get, and so it's doing the full, at some point you get to so it starts out, doing kind of like point-based body scanning, and then it's doing point-based body scanning up and down, and then it was like, oh, do kind of mirror image point-based body scanning, right? And then it's doing a full kind of like slice through your body, and then what was the last one? The last one was crazy, like going through like almost like weaving. But the idea is you're trying to get yourself to just evenly feel everything kind of evenly throughout your body. And so then, kind of the regular practice is to do that full body scan. But then if there are places where you don't feel anything, or you feel something better or something worse, then going back there and sort of targeting it and thinking about it, and then trying to get it to even out so you have a uniform sensation, kind of push it down, and then you go back to scanning.
Yeah.
And it's all that. And so and the argument is that you're trying to, again, sort of rewire that habit of just constantly being reactive. So something something gave you pleasure and you're going to go back to that, right? And it's going to drive you. Something hurt you and you're going to react to that, and it's going to drive you. And it's instead of being, reacting and repulsed, bouncing around, it's like you're trying to move yourself more to a centered thing where you're just experiencing and kind of less. And again, it's not about disengagement. It's just about kind of retraining your mind to not be, yay or ow, and everything you do is kind of based around, if you think about it. And that's again, I've talked about this before. It's like me going back and thinking about, oh, why do I do music? Why is that my creative thing? And it's like, oh, it's basic. I mean, and the dark place I've gotten to where it's like, oh, somebody complimented me. Somebody said, oh, that was good. Oh, that little lyric you wrote is good. Or, oh, that was a cool song. This is really good. And it's like, and that's the only reason why I keep doing.
Why is that a dark place?
Because it means
place.
that your whole creative process, why you're going through your creative journey, your creative death march, right, is because because
Somebody said
somebody
something
gave
nice.
you a treat,
Yeah.
right? Gave you a pat on the head.
Yeah.
And so you got some sort of little reinforcement, right?
Yeah.
So just in the same way, it's like, oh, I ate, something. I ate a cherry and then I threw up. I don't eat cherries anymore. Or I ate a cherry and it tasted wonderful, and so I'm going to eat more cherries, right? It's like somebody said, "Oh, that's I like that song," right? And that's like, "Oh, I'm just going to keep doing that."
And then nobody's going to tell me they like a song again, and then I'm going to feel sad every time I don't get a compliment like that.
Well, I guess that would be it too. But yeah, for me, it's the dark place is just like, oh, it's just all 12-year-old boy or something, getting a compliment or getting some kind of attention and just pursuing that creative path to because it. But yeah, but that's your whole life, right? Basically, your whole experience of life, right? Or the way you experience the world and the way you work within the world. And then, the profound things, like in some of the lectures, were just like, stories, where it's like, oh, I the one was like, oh, I'm walking with a group of students, and then we're walking by a person who's lying on the street, and then one of the students steps on that person's foot, and the person lying on the ground says, "You're an idiot." Clumsy idiot or whatever. I can't remember. Oh, it was a great insult that the guru guy had, the teacher had. But then he says, and then in that situation, I hear that and I kind of feel like, oh, that guy, got yelled at, and I'm like thinking, oh, well, and he's upset, the guy who got yelled at. And then I'm thinking, well, if he was a better meditator, he wouldn't react negatively to that. And then second scenario is walking down the street, and then that person, the teacher, trips over the person. The person calls him an idiot, and then all of a sudden your reaction to that is he's like really upset. It's like, oh, this person called me an idiot. What this person here is laying on the ground. What are they? And everything. They have a completely different reaction. And then third scenario, the teacher, or they're walking in a group, and one of the students, the teacher steps on the person's foot, and the person yells at them, but he realizes it's their son, right? And then it's like, and the teacher's like, "That my son said that to me," and it's like, said I'm an idiot, and you have a completely different reaction. But the whole moral of the story is that everything happens the same. The situation is the same, but the context, right?
Yeah.
Depending on how it relates to you, right, is your reaction is going to be completely different. Also, it's like, oh, what was the other story? It's like, oh, a doctor, somebody's sick, and a doctor cuts into them with a knife, and then unfortunately the person dies. The doctor's trying to operate on them and cure them, help them, and the doctor cuts into that person in the stomach or something, and then unfortunately the patient dies. And then second situation where somebody, a bad guy, comes up to a person and cuts them in the stomach, and the person dies, right? Same action, right? Completely different context and intent of the person. And the kind of whole lesson is that, oh, it's all you. You're making everything, right? Every experience you have,
you're making stories
reality,
out of everything.
Everything is your context, right? It's so the actions are actions, but your reaction and the context of them and how they affect you, right, are all internal to you. You are making this, right? And so it's like you can't change the actions of the world, right? What you need to do is but what you can do is you can start tweaking the way you react. Right. That's the reality you can change. Yeah. So that kind of goes back to the whole idea of like in the questionnaire is like, do you believe you can use mental or meditation to change other people or change the world and everything like that. And it's like, yeah, that's not what this is about. This is about you
Working on yourself.
working on
you
yourself,
can't
tweaking the way your
Yeah.
mind works and tweaking the way you interpret the real world.
There's like
Right.
like you can't cloth the world in leather. You
Yep.
have to put the leather on your feet.
Yeah, he said
So-
that one too. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just and so that's that. I mean, those were the sort of the things takeaways. There was another one where he talked about I've built a little idol, of Goenka. His
love
teacher
this.
is the Goenka, and now I've gotten compliments and I've shined up this idol, and he's just talking about building this little idol of himself, or you build this little idol of yourself, and then everything that comes in, right, is all of a sudden, reflected in this idol. Like it's like, oh, I have this beautiful, idol that I've created, and then all of a sudden somebody says, "You're an idiot," and it's like, but this beautiful idol, this thing that I've built of me and who I am and everything like that, and that contrast, and then it's like, oh, that's tarnishing it. It's just things about that, like building the stories. Everything's a story. Everything's you've built these, And to me, it wasn't even just idols, like little objects of yourself, but then also of everybody else, right? You've built these little dolls, these little icons of every person.
Oh, that's
and
interesting.
This is me.
Yeah.
This is me going out from what he didn't
Yeah.
talk about this, but I'm just like, oh yeah, like I'm thinking about this person, or I'm thinking about this thing, this experience. Yeah, he did talk about stuff like, oh, this person who, did something to you 20 years ago, and then they've lived this whole life. They could completely have changed to have a completely different world. They could be, the most beautiful benefactor in the world now, but 20 years later you see them again, and you see the little construction you've made of them. And it could be reality, right? That they were an asshole and they were terrible to you, but the thing is that you don't.
You have no idea why
Yeah.
they were an asshole even in the first place,
Yeah.
and whether or not they've changed.
And maybe
so you
they
have
weren't.
this.
Yeah. Or, I don't know.
Yeah, I had just a couple of things. Let's see if I can remember them. One was, when I picked you up in the car, and I said, you made it the whole way, because I've only talked to people who haven't made it through at that point I had only talked to people who hadn't made it through the entire retreat, and you were like, oh wow, now I feel even cooler. And then you said, but that's all. Now I'm doing. I can't remember what you said. What
I was kind of saying jazz, but it is. It's kind of that polishing thing, or it's like I have a higher status.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
you were like, now this is just moving me towards what is it? It's not repulsion, it's the opposite.
Oh yeah, it's like a reinforcement, and it is like a positive reinforcement. Yeah, and it's again, polishing that beautiful idol I've made of myself. And the problem is that I'm not, and his point wasn't that everybody makes this beautiful, massive, sort of godlike character of yourself in your head. Well, you do, right? But he wasn't saying necessarily that's all positive too, right? So I have, a flawed.
Oh, you have all kinds of. It's your ego. It's built up. It's your whole. Yeah, your.
But it's a
I
thing
love
you've
that thing.
built.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
sure.
it's also so again, that's something you can change, right? That's the reality you can change. You can't change the real world and what the world is doing. I mean, you can, right? Like you can have an impact. I'm not saying that. Don't do anything and never,
This is not the episode. This
help
is
others
not the
and
please
everything
vote
like that.
episode.
Yeah.
This is something else. Yeah.
Yeah. But this is it's kind of like, but in terms of like emotional, I guess your emotional sort of life. I mean, in changing the way you experience things, or how much pain and joy you feel, or whatever. And it's not that binary, but the only thing that you're in control of is your mind.
Yeah.
Really, your body.
Yeah.
And you maybe not even fully in control of your body or your mind, right? And it's like there are arguments for that, but at least you can't, change the rotation of the earth.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, and I remember like Sandra, like the Sangha leader, the Prairie Sangha leader back when I was at the Prairie Sangha, just talking about ego, and like I'd be like, you know, I'd be like, well, I would never do something like that. You know, how can this person think I would do that? I would never do something, and that's so much ego. Like I'm like I would never do that. Like, and she would tell me, you know, that's ego. That's a huge ego problem, or just ego. That's your ego, and it's hurting you. Same thing with like getting something like even, you know, like daily, like my capoeira practice, you know, I would never do that. I would never be wrong in something, you know, I would never do this wrong, or I feel bad about myself because I did something wrong. You know, I'm the perfect person. I'm not gonna make mistakes. And then the other thing I wanted to say was that, you know, like my favorite scene in Lawrence of Arabia, like, do you know why it's my favorite scene now? It's like, how do you put that
What's the trick? So he
he
snuffs out a match with his
Mhm.
fingers, right?
yeah, that's his trick all
And
the
it's
time.
like, what's the trick?
Yeah. It hurts.
Yeah, somebody else tries
Yeah,
it.
it
and it's
goes,
like,
ow, it hurts. And he
And
goes,
it's
what's
like,
the trick?
yeah.
And he goes, the trick, whatever the guy's name is not minding that it hurts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's a profoundly, I guess, Buddhist. But again, that's the thing, is like, it's very, very pointed in saying this is a universal thing, because there are no, you know, you're not visualizing a god, you're not talking to Buddha, you're not chanting anything. It is not a replacement or even competition with any kind of religion, right? It's universal. It's also universal because you're just dealing with your mind,
your own mind,
and sensation,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And that's universal.
Pretty cool. Yeah,
Everybody
has
a brain that's sensing things. I mean, again, I guess.
yeah,
I mean, there's a 0.1% of people maybe who aren't, but
Right.
it's like,
right.
and so it's not. There's no other cultural, you know, there are no other sects.
Were you
or
worried
religions
about
or
that? Like,
it's
yeah,
cultural,
yeah,
you know, systems that say you can do this, you can't, right?
Right.
And that appealed to me too, right? And so I mean, and the way the finances and everything, it's all volunteer based and donation based, and the way people manage these things, and even the centers are all independently run. Basically, they use all the same lectures and everything in the schedules, but they're all running them, you know, kind of on this volunteer collective basis. And, you know, they have committees and construction projects and
And
everything
the last
like that. but
day
it's
there
all,
was like a presentation,
whole presentation
about,
about
how it
the
runs.
logistics and
Yeah.
how much it costs, you know,
I love that.
for each student, you know, and the guy was like, and we have this in the slideshow because people always ask, you know, it's like, how much money is the center, you know, how much does it cost to run the center for a year? And then it's like, how many students? And it was like, oh, this place costs $560,000 a year to run, and we have about 1,000 students a year. And it's like, so that boils down to it's about $600 per student. And so that's, you know, and then for me, it was like, okay, that's what I'm going to donate, right, for my time. And that finances the next person who wants it. But then, yeah, even talking about, in fact, they were talking about their committee system, and I'm trying to remember what it's called. There's some sort of very specific method. What is it? Committee by consensus? And it's like, it's all about not, you know, it's like subsuming, like the committee comes to a consensus, and then you back off on what you think is right. It's like coming to a consensus, and it's all focused on, every decision is based on, does it benefit the students, right? So I was like thinking, oh wow, that's what, you know, should be happening at the university, for instance,
it sounds
right?
like ISU, yeah.
Yeah, where it's like,
Yeah.
and it's, but it's sort of like the committees are run by consensus, not, you know, individuals, you know, forcing their will. But I mean, people come up with ideas, I guess, and like, oh, we need to build a new building and stuff like that, and then we need to fundraise for it, or we need to figure out, get a loan for that, and then have people, yeah. But it's very socialist or collectivist, you know, and also, yeah, and the teacher guy, you know, at some point was saying, you know, talking about the logistics of it, why it's run this way, you know, and it's like how people would say, oh, when he was in India, it was like, oh, this is what we're going to do, and it's going to be free. And then people are like, it's never going to work. You're just going to have a whole bunch of poor people showing up wanting free food and a place to stay. And it's like, yeah, we'll see. And then it's like, because also you gotta sit here for 10 days, and be meditating all the time. It's not like you just can show up and get some food. It's not a soup kitchen. And yeah, I wound up working, and then it was like, oh, when they moved into the U.S., it's like that's not going to work. You can't run something in the United States where it's all based on donation, right? And everything like that. And it's like, and yet it's working, right? And so that to me was great too, where it's like totally feeding into, like my socialist, collectivist, kind of anti-capitalist thing, where it's like, oh yeah, you can have systems that work that aren't just purely based on profit. And it kind of ties into our kids' talk about open source software, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, you open source stuff, and yeah, talking about format differences. This is a really kind of big jump, but it's not. It's like, oh, why, like VHS versus Beta, or QuickTime versus Windows Media Player, and formats, and it's like different compression formats, and it's like the motivation for those kind of different proprietary formats is for profit, right? It's the motivation is not to better serve
right.
The delivery of information.
Correct.
Or better serve humanity. Whereas open source and technology, it's like, oh yeah, the whole point of it is to universalize things and make things better and make things work better, right? As opposed to that being a secondary or like a bullshit thing. It's like, oh yeah, I'm building these electric cars to make the world a better place, right?
Yeah. The Jeff Elbel said a little while ago. He said he's more used to having his creative efforts ignored instead of like people praising. But then he said in jest, but perhaps connected to Rick's view about what constitutes purity in the creative process and in his creative work, seeing intrinsic value rather than seeking praise.
Yeah, and I'm not talking. And honestly, I don't feel like we don't have time to talk about the Dazzling Gilman thing, but like,
I think we do.
And so what I'm talking about is kind of the seed of why I do what I do, and it's not like the constant praise, which I don't get, right? Or even the occasional praise, or the fact that, oh yeah, we were able to make records and stuff.
I think I just saw a whole bunch of Dazzling Gilman signs here. Or I saw something. What was that?
But I mean it, and I spent a lot of time thinking about stuff, and it's like remembering was English teacher in high school, and I think we journaled and stuff. And like writing journals and stuff, and then you'd turn them in and she'd review them, and I feel like I wrote lyrics in one, and then I have a memory of written in the margin, "This is good," in green pen, and it's just like,
that's why you write music?
I mean,
what
I'm
the
like,
fuck?
Yeah, like,
dude.
I'm like, I think that might be it. That
wow.
might be the only thing where it's like,
didn't anybody ever tell you were good at anything else? Did you? Was that the first A you got?
It's not A's. It's kind of like,
you did something
creative
different.
work, right?
Yeah.
So it's also creative work, but that's what I mean by like a dark place, where it's like, oh, is that really? I mean, I got a treat, right? I got a reward.
Got a Scooby snack.
Yeah, and it was like that's the only reason why I do this. And it's just like,
well, thank God.
Well, I don't know, thank God, but it was kind of also, and that was the process too, is thinking a little bit about like, well, and then if that's the whole kind of core of what I do, my creative life, then if I get my brain conditioned where I'm not as sort of living on basically reward and punishment, right? What is it in like Pavlovian terms, right? It's like if you boil down all of life to that, where it's just all based on reward and aversion, I guess.
Yeah, that's
Right.
it. That's it. Like or some pleasure and
Pleasure
aversion.
and
That's
aversion,
that's
right?
what.
Yeah.
There's pleasure and aversion.
And then it's like, oh, you sort of work yourself out of that cycle. Does that mean, yeah, I don't need to make music.
Yeah, carrot stick is
Yeah.
what Jeff said.
Exactly. And so
But
then
had
I
this
think
whole-
about, so Leonard Cohen, and it goes back to Leonard Cohen. It's like going
God damn it.
for 5 years
Yeah.
in a silent retreat. But, he came down, and that's the funny thing, though, is what he came down from Mount Baldy after 5 years and then found out his manager had stolen all his money and had to go back to making music and everything like that, right?
I mean,
so
all right. So I was sitting and talking to Derry King, our child, who was trying to create a talk, it's taking like a basic communications class and writing this like talk that's way more advanced than it had to be, I'm sure. Way like talking about the open source movement, right?
Yeah.
Way more theoretical, way more than it needed to be. Probably could have just talked about how to make the best, peanut butter jelly sandwich or something like that, right? But anyway, near the 24-hour mark of the of the end of the creating session, he just like had his head in his hands and he was just like, why am I doing this? This is terrible. This talk is terrible. And it wasn't. It was fantastic, but it's just felt terrible. And I'm like, I've seen this before. I've seen somebody hating what they, and I said, have I ever played all the songs I've written for you? And he was like, no, I was like, that's because I have not ever written any songs. Get used to hating everything that you're going to do. And then he's like, well, what's the point? And I said, well, the point is to not be, first thing, I was like stammering because it'd been a long time of working on this. The point is to not be a robot and not just be going through life, not doing anything, not making anything, not just, just going through life like a robot. But the other point was that, there was this one point where he had the Windows logo and the Apple logo, and then he puts the FFmpeg logo on top of it, and he like blurs out the Windows and the Apple, like just to show you that FFmpeg is the underlying, compression in this, that like made it so that everybody could use this, right? Made it cross or browser, made you able to use this in the browser.
Kind of a
right.
universal standard.
Right, universal standard, right? And when he did, he was like, he was going through and we were arguing about how to do this best, and he just goes, don't, and he does that, and he makes the logos fuzzy and puts the FFmpeg clear on it, and it was like, oh. And I said, that when you did that, you felt like you felt good. You felt like a little,
yeah.
Like you were like surprised. You surprised yourself just for a second. It's not going to be, you're never going to feel good about what you did, but you're not even going to remember the little times when you were like, oh, I like that. Oh, I like that. You won't even remember it. But that's probably why you do it. For those two reasons.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I hope you got an A. It was very late though.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? Oh, do you want to say one thing about what were you going to say about the Dazzling Kill?
Oh, I don't know. I was just talking about it. It just reminded me because of just being an artist, right? And creative person, and then not being appreciated or whatever, or that dynamic, and then also just even the idea of I don't know. Yeah.
Why
acceptance?
Why is somebody not accepting? Like why are we influential but not praised and stuff like that? Like and that's just not so what do you think about that? Because you've always had thoughts about that. Like, has anything changed now after going to this retreat? Do you have any thoughts about that?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I guess we'll see if I change. I mean, I think the big thing is just what I talked about already, which is the idea of why I do what I do in my creative life, or my creative death march, depending on how you look at it, right? It's just kind of like why just all of that, and then what's, yeah, what's what's the point, I guess, but not what's the point. It's just kind of like, oh, is it really just but the question, the thing is that, I mean, there's a lot of, not pain, I guess, but there is a lot of, it's not all joyful, right? And that goes to the whole thing, like, do what you love, right? And it's like, oh, you should only, work, you should have a job that brings you joy. And it's like, that's bullshit,
Yeah,
right?
I
It's like
agree.
nothing even, and it's like, oh, it must be wonderful to be a writer. That's that story I always tell that I don't tell very well, and I need to find it where and see it written better. But it's like the young writer who finally gets to hang out with his hero, and the first thing the young writer says to the older writer is like, "It's so easy for you, isn't it?" And the old writer is just like, like deflates, and it's just like, oh, great. It's like, I thought I was going to be talking to somebody who's been through the battle too, and understands everything, but here's just another person who thinks that it's easy, right? For me, right?
I think there's a lot of that in Infinite Jest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's I mean, it's
But
I mean, it's
anyway,
not
all right.
not a revolutionary thing, that the creative process is not just a simple. But that's the thing is too, and then I always go back to like the Twyla Tharp thing, like her whatever it was 10 or 20 years ago, her kind of creative work, getting things done book, which it was just like, you just get up every day. It's like, I get up every day and I go to the studio and I work, and it doesn't matter what's going on. If it's raining, if it's snowing, I don't wait for the lightning bolts. You can't wait for magic to happen. Is you just work. You do the work, right? So that reminded me of this meditation thing. Is like, work. It's like, this is not a easy and lightning bolts and miracle thing. It's like, you got to do the work.
Yeah.
And you just do the work, and stuff happens.
Yeah. I remember like Santanu saying to my students, like, every morning, Santanu was my, or Shantanu, was my Kung Fu teacher, but like, just, and he runs a Kung Fu school now, in Austin, but like, just saying every single morning I get up and I fight with myself. I'm like the person, I'm like my biggest enemy. I have to fight about everything. I have to fight about getting out of bed. I have to fight about, doing this. I have to fight about doing that. Everything is a struggle, and every single day it's a struggle, but I keep fighting, like, I thought I was really happy that somebody was saying that in front of my students.
Yeah, and it's important to know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That people, and that's what I try to do. Like, sometimes when it hasn't happened so much lately, but it's like student presenting work in a class, and then it's amazing work, over the top, great. And then it's like, I always try to remember to ask then, other students like, oh, and it's like, how long did you spend on this?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, and then a lot of times the answer is I spent too much time on this, right? And it's like, I kind of didn't do anything else for the past week.
Right. They always
like,
say that.
And
yeah.
I didn't do my work in my other class, or and it's like,
I spent 523 hours on this, and the students are like, whoa.
Yeah, and it's like,
oh, you did work.
Because it's like, so many times, almost universally or almost all the time, is you see something amazing, and it's like, and you just think, oh, they can just do that. It's just magic. Like, they're just more talented in anything, right? And it's like, oh, and then, but if you are able, or they allow you to look under the hood, right? It's like, oh, they're really working hard at this. They spent a lot more time, time than I did.
Yeah,
I would ever do, right? And sometimes to the detriment of other things in their life. And that's not an endorsement of, oh, you should only do one thing and completely dive into that.
Yeah, you have to do my homework too,
Yeah.
not just Rick's homework. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. But it's still, it's just like, yeah.
Can I try on your glasses?
It's the work.
Okay. Well, we've come to the end of
Yes.
2 hours.
Yeah, this is too much.
Yeah. I don't think it's too much.
Special double episode
I'm
since we
Yeah.
missed one
Yeah.
2
I'm-
weeks ago.
I'm fascinated that you went through that. I think that's so wonderful that you went through that. I'm really proud of you.
And the one last thing is, and this was one of the older guys from India had said, is like when people were asking after the silence was over and we were all kind of talking, jabbering, what did the teacher call it? Chit chat.
Mm-hmm.
It's all chit chat after the silence ends. The work is done. It's all chit chat after that. It's all downhill. But when people were talking about were you prepared for it? Were you scared? And this older guy who's probably my age, said, well, I remember a time before cell phones, and he said living in India too, it was like sometimes you'd be waiting in the train station and there are no TV sets or anything, and you'd just be stuck sitting there, or you'd be on the train, for hours on end and not have anything. And so it was like he remembers a time when you weren't constantly preoccupied, right? Or occupied, right? Your attention,
Yeah.
like wasn't co-opted.
He
or
remembers
being
a
sold.
time of being
Yeah.
bored.
And that was like, oh yeah, I remember that too. I'm old enough, and also being on tour, right? And the touring,
Yeah.
and obviously touring's, it's like we had books to read and stuff, but there was, it wasn't the retreat aspect of it, the completely disengaging from the whole world and everything like that. It was a little worrisome in that it was bad. Like there were points where it's like, I gotta write everything down. I need a piece of paper. Where am I gonna steal a piece of paper?
What did you want to write down?
Just everything that happened, and kind of keeping track and plans and ideas for things that I didn't want to forget.
So keeping track of like the instruction.
What happened? Yeah, what happened? Or
Okay.
even
Yeah.
not so much
Yeah.
that, but
Oh,
that's
okay.
that's one thing they said too, though, is like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, you shouldn't be taking notes and everything like that. That's a distraction too. But there was some, so that idea of, oh yeah, it is a, like, not just a retreat, but like a digital detox, right? But it's more just a real sort of, so even that idea of, oh, like reading or watching TV, right, as a, or even listening to radio, listening to podcasts, right? So I do a lot of that, where it's like, oh, that's a way of, like, a meditation, or a kind of, it's like, oh, what do you meditate? No, but I read, and it's like, but like realizing, oh, that's also, I mean, they're good things. I think they're good things. They're all pleasurable experiences, but they are not meditative, right?
They're
I
not
would
doing
say.
the work. They're
They're
not
not doing the work.
connecting your mind and
Right,
body.
yeah. What they're doing, it's more creating stories and more that, and it's distracting you from the now, and that's fine. I think that's fine. I think it's important, and there's lots of, again, research about how, like reading books and everything like that builds empathy and all that. So, I mean, I think there's actually, like, concrete beneficial stuff that happens through those. It's not just simply distraction.
Well, yeah, it's
But
it's
being aware of it, where it's
Yeah.
like, even the idea of, like, what was I thinking about? It's like, oh, do they have ticks in India? It's like I went off there, like, where it's like, oh, like with this whole meditation retreat and everything like that, and then I was like,
because there were ticks where you were walking around outside.
and it was like, oh man, and obviously, right? But that would, like, there were so many moments where it was like, I need to search, right? And so it wasn't even like, I need to be entertained, I need to be preoccupied, I need to be on
Need to
social media.
Find out the
It was like,
answer.
I
Yeah,
need to
yeah.
know
How do I not
right
know
now
that? Yeah.
If, like, what's the tick situation around the world, right? I need to do research, right?
Yeah.
And thinking about that, the past of that, where it was like, like, knowing stuff and everything in the old days, it was like, if I had that thought in the middle of the night in 1980
You'd have
or
to walk to the
1976,
library the next
so
day.
this happened over
Yeah.
the 4th of July, and I was thinking a lot about July 4th, the bicentennial in
That's right.
1976, and it's like, oh, if I wondered about, like, ticks and everything like that, it's like, I wouldn't have gotten that answer in 10 seconds in 1976. I would have had to have gone, woken up the next morning, go to the library, start looking around, go to the card catalog, I guess, go to the encyclopedia, start
Mhm.
looking up stuff about ticks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like even that, where it's just like, wow.
Don't you think about this all the time? I think about this all the time because you and Graham always, you especially always pull out, whenever
Yeah.
there's a question, you always pull out the hand calculator.
And it's a beautiful, really wonderful thing. But
Yeah.
then, that goes back to the whole evil point of corporate AI is a way of capturing and owning all of human knowledge, right?
Well, you could argue that Google before it was, as Greb says, lobotomized, that there were still hierarchical results.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
still
But then
filtered
you
and
think about
still-
Wikipedia, right? Is not
Yeah.
not that, or I mean, you
Well,
could, but
it's
that's
only-
that's the thing though. Is like I think a lot of what's happening with AI is not just simply this amazing new technology. It's like, oh, the Dutch East India Company of the 21st century is OpenAI or Meta or what's frickin' Elon Musk's AI company, and it's like you've got all of these people trying to build an empire of knowledge, like capturing it, just in the same way they're gonna, like the Dutch East India Company exploited the resources of an area of the world, right? It's like, oh, these companies are going to be exploiting human knowledge, kind of corralling and selling it.
So stay tuned for next week when we talk about that AI.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for this special
Thanks, Rick.
double silent retreat episode.
Double non-silent.